I want to invite Gaurav Rastogi up here, and he will explain I'm just not even going to explain what you're going to explain because that's a little redundant. Your microphone picks that up just fine.
All right, just sit comfortably, just sit upright is fine. Full foot contact on the floor. You can close your eyes, keep your back straight, back, neck, and head in a straight line. You can close your eyes gently and relax the expression on your face. Let the tongue sit at the bottom of the mouth. Bring a gentle smile to your face. Relax your shoulders, your chest, and your belly. And now breathe into the belly. As you breathe in, let the belly expand. As you breathe out, let go and feel a sense of relief as you exhale. Slow the breath down, breathing into the belly, let the belly expand. And as you exhale, let go of your thoughts, let go of your preoccupation. Let everything go and feel a sense of relief sweep through the body, savoring the silence. I'm going to chant Om 3 times. I just pay attention to the sound as it vibrates and radiates. And then I'll chant the opening prayer. I will tell you the translation first, and then I'll just chant in Sanskrit. This is a prayer from the earliest of our scriptures. It shows up in several places as a opening of a conversation, some not very different from the one we're having today. And so it's a sort of done by Sanskrit lawyers is what I think, because essentially it's not addressed to any divinity, it's addressed to us mutually. And it says, may we both be protected, may we both be nourished, may we work together with great energy, may our knowledge be radiant, may there be no differences or disputes between us. And then I say Shanti 3 times, which means peace, peace within, peace with between, and peace all around. And that's how we conclude. So sitting comfortably, just pay attention to the chanting. I'll chant Om 3 times and then the opening prayers. That's the first Om. Inhale now. Inhale. Gently pull your head up and inhale, and gently bring your head down to exhale. Come back up. Now rub your palms together to generate some heat. Don't open your eyes yet. Shield your eyes with your warm palms and then blink your eyes open and then pull your palms back like an open book.
Well, thank you. No,
Are
you
you
stay
sitting?
up
Okay.
here now.
I'm
And
up.
you can do the closing.
I
Maybe
was
if you do the closing, not now, but at
Yeah,
the end of our,
sure.
that would be great. We can stand around here
Sure,
and
yeah,
then,
okay.
and I'll let you stand, sit, however it is
I
you
will
like
sit.
will sit.
Okay.
So
Can't see here. So let me
here,
get
come over. Yeah, move it wherever you'd like. It's
Yeah,
perfectly okay.
sure. All right.
I want to tell you, and some of you might already have imagined this, but there are some Christian faith communities, even the Methodist Church, that would have surely felt like the roof would have fallen in to have allowed a Hindu prayer to be sung and chanted. And I am grateful that we know who we are and we welcome and invite those of different practices as we know why we choose to be who we are. So thank you. And thank you very much for that, Gaurav. There are a couple things I wanted to ask, and so I set this up for you as well. Some basic tenets and ideas and thoughts about Hinduism, because there's some that in Western culture, maybe more particularly in American Western culture, that people may think they know about Hinduism, like the multiple gods and how do you decide which one what day? No, teasingly. And why in the world is a cow made holy? And what does that mean? And how is that lived out? And then you did, and some may notice this. I notice you took off your shoes coming into any holy sacred space. You take off your shoes. And how about I just start with there and you get a few minutes to share.
Okay, but first off, thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you for opening your hearts and your space to have me over. It's a pleasure to be here, and I thank you for the opportunity. I grew up in India. I've spent half my life here in California, and Hinduism is a long, vibrant tradition. It's been around for 10,000 years. We can't tell how far back we go, but it's a long, continuous memory. And over centuries, the tradition has continued to evolve, change, and dynamically adjust to the realities of the world at the time. And what's common? So you asked me the core tenets, so I'll try to talk about a few. Hinduism is a very diverse tradition. There's 1.2 billion Hindus in the world, not just in India, of course. There's about 5 million Hindus in the US, roughly. And it's a diverse tradition in the sense that it does not require you to believe something to come in. It does not have a credo to believe you have to come in. You can be a disbeliever in the existence of God. You could be completely an atheist and be entirely acceptable. In fact, some of the more legitimate schools of Hindu philosophy are completely atheistic because their explanation for the true nature of reality does not extend beyond what's knowable. And so what's outside the realm of the knowable, they don't speculate. And so they're atheistic. And that's completely all right in the tradition. So in the Hindu tradition accepts a wide range of beliefs. And the reason I say this is some of the earliest memories of our tradition, the scriptures, there's a particular verse that stands out. And that verse, the second half of that verse is, the truth is one, but the wise know it by many names. And so any path can lead to you to the truth, so long as you continue on the path. And so all paths that lead to the truth are acceptable. We do not exclude the paths to the truth. And in that sense, that's one core tenet, that the truth is one, the wise know it by many names. It's a very absorbing, very welcoming tradition. And that's one thing. We do not believe in many gods or one God. We, in fact, we don't believe that there is anything but the one. So it's all one. You and I are expression of the same divinity, as is this inert table, this room. Everything is an expression of the same underlying divinity. And so the question of whether there are one God or many gods is a question of how we wish to perceive and how our heart sings. And how our heart sings is the divinity we're calling to. Sometimes we call out for mom because we need help from mom. Mom can sort things out. Sometimes we need some other form to help us, and that form appeals to our heart. So it's a cultivation of the heart that matters more. The divine form is infinitely unknowable, and so we don't discriminate on that basis. So the other things is the continuation of the self from life to life. There is an underlying essence that continues. So, of course, you might have heard of the famous belief in reincarnation. And Hindus have it's linked to two different things, very long. You might have to call me several Sundays to parse this out. But the basic thing is the underlying intuition for everyone is that everything must make sense, right? Everything, there must be some way of making sense. Everything is not random. So as long as you begin with that and you try to make sense, we arrive at two conclusions in the Hindu tradition. One, the continuity of the self. So many of the truths of our life are contingent on the context of our birth. The moment of our birth, automatically, the family we're born in, the cultural context we're born in, how good looking we're going to be, how smart we're going to be, what gifts we're going to receive, everything is almost decided at the moment of birth. If 90% of the truths of my life are already determined randomly by a throw of the dice at birth, then what am I doing trying to optimize the remaining 10%, choosing how to live or be a better human being? If things are random at birth, they remain random forever. Things must not be random at birth. And so to make sense, the only way you make sense is to say, there has to be a coming and going. Some people look familiar when you meet them. Even if it's for the first time, you immediately deal with them.
Some of us, we might call that soulmate.
Yes.
You know that you like you are in tune with them.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That's
And so that to us is, and there is a lot of research that has happened in near-death experiences and reincarnation studies, even out here in the West. And so we believe that reincarnation is important, is happening, and it must follow the same cyclical process of coming and going as we see in the weather, the plants, and the oceans. Everything comes and goes, and so must we. That's one. Now, part two of that same conclusion is that there has to be some kind of math. How come good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people? And it can't be that everything is sorted in one life, because it clearly seems to be some people become the president of the most powerful country in the history of humanity. They seem to be doing all right. Now, what happened? How is it there's no retribution? The retribution is just simply in the balancing itself is a word I guarantee you've heard of, but not in this context. That word is karma. We believe that there is a law of karma that simply says what you put out comes around, because we are all essentially one unitary whole. And so whatever energy we put out comes back, but sometimes it comes back in the next life, because you don't live long enough for all the maths to work out. So we make sense of the world. And so those are just a few things. The cow is sacred. Yes. In fact, every living being is sacred. Many non-living beings can also be sacred, depending on how we invite the energies to imbue them. Rivers are sacred. This room is sacred because this is the house of the divine, hence the removal of shoes. Because, like it said, just down the hall, babies crawl there. We take our shoes off because this is a sacred, holy place, and we don't bring our outside shoes with outside dust into places that are sacred. And this place is as sacred to me as it is surely for you. And so our tradition requires that we take shoes off outside our house, outside holy places. But why are cows sacred? We were talking
Yes,
about
why
that.
are cows sacred?
The Indian
Or more sacred.
more sacred than most.
most
Yeah, sure,
we
yeah.
might say.
So there are several ways to think about it, but I'll give you the bullet point versions. One, cows are wonderful creatures. You should spend time with them, not inside your belly. Go to a cow shed, spend time. They're very intelligent, very kind creatures. And in fact, there's a whole cow shed about 5 miles from my home, run by a Hindu community, that you could go there and pet the cows. And I'll get you a Groupon. For $100, you could pet the cows and sit with them. It turns out it has therapeutic value because their heart rates are slower, their breath rates are slower. They're very kind. They respond to music. You sing to them and they will respond. They're very kind. That's one. So cows are amazing creatures. They're like, dogs are friendly, and you wouldn't eat a dog in any cultures, right? So the thing is, one, cows are sacred because they're amazing creatures, but that's one thing. The second is the cow in the Indian tradition, if you track what's happened with human civilizations, lactose intolerance is something that we have developed in some humans and not the others. Indians are a little more lactose intolerant than the others, which means that we can have milk. It has given us survival benefits. We drink the milk of the cow. We drink the milk of our mother, and therefore, by mathematical proof, the cow is like our mother because we have drunk her milk. We have benefited from the love and nurturing care of a cow, and therefore, a cow is mother-like to us. One does not eat one's mother, and so that's why the cow is sacred.
Fair enough.
So that's the second reason, which is, as a civilization, the people of Europe, people of India have lactose tolerance. That automatically means that if you track what's happening, your latest anthropology research, the Yamnaya people, basically in a few hundred years, repopulated Europe. These were horse riding, cow milk swigging cowboys. And within a few hundred years, their entire populations were replaced by these cowboys. It gave them survival benefits. You don't do that by just riding the horse. You got to get a source of energy, which is the cow milk and the cheese and all the products that come out of that. And so that's the second reason. The third is a spiritual reason. Wisdom, the word for wisdom in our tradition is also, the word for senses is also Gau, of course, is Gau means cow, same word. And so the senses must be protected like the cows, because the senses go out all the time into pasture, but sometimes never return. Not a good thing. So you want the senses to come back and nurture them. So they're called Gau. And the wisdom and knowledge in our scripture is also referred to. The scriptures themselves are literally referred to. Like your Bible, our equivalent would be called the 4 cows or the 4 legs of the cow, and its milk. The verse I chanted for you would be what they would call the milk of the cows, because it's pure spiritual wisdom. And so the Gita, one of our very famous hymns and scriptures, 700 verses of philosophical discourse, is called the milk of the cows, because it is pure, unadulterated nutrition for the spirit. And so for those three bullet point reasons, the cows are sacred in the Hindu tradition. But the thing is, American cows, we don't really care that much about. They're the Jersey cows. Indian cows, the Indian cow breed, you go back 4,000 or 5,000 years, and they'll see they're humped cows. And so the Zebu cow, and then there's several thousand variants of the Indian cow, but that's the one that we revere, and that's the one that we. So even the cows that I talked to about the Groupon,
Yeah.
those are Indian cows from about 100 years ago, or maybe something like that. And some king in some part of India gifted it to some guy or some guy in Brazil for some reasons unknown to me. And they protected that species. They did not interbreed them outside. And so those were in Brazil, and they were transported here. And they are purebred Indian cows, and that's why they're sacred. So that. And one of our dearest, so you met the Krishnas, right? They have the same bald look with the symbol here.
And the hair.
And the hair that at the back she cut. So the Krishnas, of course, Hare Krishnas follow Krishna. And Krishna is also a cowboy in his young age. He is a cowherd. His family business is cowherding. And one of his childhood stories, you have the nativity stories.
Yes.
One of Krishna's nativity stories, he's a young kid, he's a toddler, but he's a naughty kid because he's really naughty. And what he really loves is butter. He can't get enough of it. His mom hates it because she's trying to do things with the butter, make like ghee out of it or whatever.
Yeah.
So she puts it into a thing on top. She hangs it from the ceiling in a pot. But of course, he's naughty. He breaks the pot, and then he eats all the butter, and then he lies about it because he's naughty. And so it's a very fun nativity story, but he loves cows. He is shown playing a flute to the cows as a young kid. So all those reasons are why Indians consider the cow sacred. Trees are sacred. Plants in rivers are sacred. So if Indians don't discriminate in that sense, Hindus, everything is sacred.
I want to go back to the God thing because
Yes.
many of us, like I'm familiar with Vishnu,
Sure.
and you work with or have a relationship with member of Shiva Vishnu temple, which are two different understandings then of
Yes.
God.
Yes.
Can you, the other thing is this in Hinduism, and I didn't ask you this before, so this is totally on the fly, guys, sorry. Is this a ritual that do you guys have some of this image of the person with 8 arms or something? Is that in Hinduism?
Yes.
What is that?
Okay, I'll explain.
Oh, good.
All right. Okay. Many gods. We'll begin with the question hanging out there.
Yes.
I don't go to the DMV with my tax filing. That's not how I do things. I don't go to the Department of Real Estate with my motor vehicle license. The government is the government, but there are departments that run the department, and they're not all the same. Once you live long enough in a country, you realize this is how things work, and then you can go to the right department. And so God, of course, is infinite, infinitely variable, infinitely kind, infinitely powerful.
Right.
But we're not able to understand infinity. We must engage with divinity in forms we can understand. For example, have you heard of Hurricane Rita?
Hurricane
Rita?
yes.
Or Katrina?
Or
Now,
Katrina, yes.
Did they know that they were called Rita or Katrina? They don't care.
They're just hurricanes.
We call them names because that's how we deal with things. We give them names, we give them forms, so we may understand them and engage with them. We do not have words for wordless things. And therefore, O God of many names, God can have many names and backstories, infinitely variable. And so they may appear as many gods, but it's understanding that it's essentially one creation. But we don't understand it. We don't have enough brain power to consume infinity. So we consume it in ways understandable to us. Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma are 3 parts of this creation where every moment is being destroyed, every moment is being sustained, every moment is being created. And so the power to create, the power to sustain and nourish, the power to destroy and remake are all parts of this divine cosmic dance that's always going on and forever. And so those are understood in human terms the way we understand this as Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma, which are different forms. Now, the Hindu insight and inquiry begins not with a credo, but simply a question. And that question is Athat Brahma Jignasa, which is Sanskrit for, and now, therefore, a curiosity about the true nature of reality. Something isn't right. Something isn't as it appears. There's something beyond what appears to the naked eye that we inquire. And it's usually later in life when we have realized that something is amiss, something is different. And that question leads to an unfolding and an unpacking in the philosophical sense, and then leads us to conclude several things. One, we might realize that there is nothing other than me. So Plato talked about the allegory of the cave. If you've watched the movie Matrix, same deal. You come to the realization that everything is somewhat dreamlike, momentary, changing from moment to moment. And yet, and so you might conclude one way that everything is just me. It's me in a dream. I am the dreamer dreaming this entire thing, and I'm now observing everything. When you dream, do you not see other people?
Yes.
When you wake up, have you murdered every one of them successfully to be able to wake up? Or they disappear and you recognize what? That other people are made of? They were made of your consciousness. They were you pretending to be other people. Yeah, is it not? When you wake up and you realize your dreams, that you can conclude one way and say, it is all me. I am the dreamer. This is my dream. And then I say, Shivoham, I am the dreamer. I am I'm the light that illuminates my entire universe, which is one way of understanding Shiva. I make everything sacred by contact. The other is simply, even if I am the dreamer, I can't seem to be doing too much. I can't really do, so clearly I'm not the primary dreamer. There must be another dreamer of whose dream I am a part of. He is pretending to be me, but I'm not the primary dreamer. That primary dreamer must be outside, whose energy passes through me and now infuses and runs the entire universe. Vishnu literally means that which pervades everything, fills everything, infuses everything, and sustains everything, nourishes everything. And so it's a way of understanding our tradition. They all have human shapes. When you go to a temple, they have human shapes and forms and backstories and families, but the essential understanding is a philosophical one.
I'm going to, my brain went to this. I was thinking about the humor that God gives us, and I'm mindful of time, but anybody, I think it was called the Blues Brothers, or it was and Donald Sutherland was in it, and he was a professor, and they were high as anything. And he said, yes. And look, and on this finger are all the dots, and this is actually the universe. And inside that universe are multiple. That's what this made me think of. Now you all will go back and watch that movie, and I do not recommend necessarily getting high either. Not what I'm encouraging. Two more questions I have for you. Others may have these, and I'm paying attention to the time, and I'm going to mispronounce it. Tillek.
Yeah.
Tillek, and go with that, because often many of us see that, and it may be, and some of us, I don't know, I've seen it, women wearing a red.
Bindi.
Tillek. Is it Tillek too?
Bindi. For women, it's
A bindi, and
dot,
for men, it's a Tillek.
Yeah,
Excellent.
the shape, sure.
Okay.
The Hindu tradition, the daily ritual requires you to bathe and do your prayers. And at the end of those prayers, you might then put a mark on your forehead. The forehead is important. If you've heard of the word chakras,
Yes.
this is the third eye. This is where we perceive things, the past, present, and the future. This is a sense of infinite. And so there's a crown chakra and the third eye, and these are very important. The forehead is the third eye. And so we put a mark here. This, the one I have, has sandalwood paste and saffron. And so it's calming. Sandalwood is calming. It makes me cool, makes me not get into a mad driving rage as I'm driving on the freeway. So it's good for everyone. And then the saffron is very sweet smelling. So it gives me a certain aura of sweet smellingness, which is better than my usual aura of not. The shape itself, the Hare Krishnas will have something that sort of looks like a U, same material, it's sandalwood paste and saffron, but then it's in a shape. You might take a metal rod and then you might put it on there. You might put it with your fingers, but it's an artifact of the tradition and the sect and the group that you belong to, and the shape changes. The Shiva followers, you might have also seen Indian people with the three lines going this way and a red dot in the middle. That's Shiva worshippers. And what's happened in India, the geography of India is that there's Himalayas on top, but it's open to the top left. So if you're thinking Seattle's open, Canada, we're not going to be invaded by, but on the top left, Alaska and Russia side were exposed. And so from there, India's had from like Roman times, Alexander onwards, there's been incursion after incursion. People have come all the time on their horses and with their guns and so on. And so there's been a lot of people coming and going. And so people have lost these signs, these things, because we're secularized. We don't carry this. But traditionally, you would have this. You would have headgear that belongs to your community. You'd have the fish thing as well. So to sum it all, it is a mark of my identity. It is attractive. So it attracts everyone that's attention to me and this, which is great. With women also, the red is a sign of fertility. It's a sign of the mother self. So that's what the women have red here and red here in the middle of the forehead.
I was going to say, oh, please, I do not want to wear red.
Sure.
I'm done with that, Em.
Here, that's done. It's all done, yes.
Wonderful. And then my last question and others. Oh, no, CJ, do you have a question? Yeah.
Sure.
Soul travel.
Yeah. Okay, so for those who didn't hear CJ because he didn't have a mic, the question is, we've heard about soul travel in the tradition. Apparently, you can leave the body and sort of travel to other realms, and some people go there and then never come back, and their body dies, and some people are stuck in this. As it is exactly as you think it is. It is possible. The body in our tradition are like clothes, which is you buy clothes, you wear nice clothes, and then when you're done, you get rid of those clothes and you move on to other clothes. That's just. And so the sharir is clothes, this is the body itself. And so it is possible in some types of Hindu tradition. Now, the Hindu tradition has mystical, large part of it is mystical and has practices where you can leave the body and travel out. In time, in space, in body, you can go from one body to another. And so it is possible with practice to do that in our tradition. But one, your mileage may vary, and two, do not try this at home. And the third thing is, sometimes it has happened that a teacher will say, okay, I'm going to go out traveling. This room, do not touch the room. Because if you touch the body or move the body, I can't come back in. Then I'm now in two spaces and I'm stuck. I'm a ghost. So we don't want that. So you're going to close this. And in the Buddhist tradition, you look at the Tibetan Buddhism, same thing, where they will leave the body, but they'll be sitting and the body is sitting there, it doesn't decay, it just sits there. And they'll come back when they do, and it's all right, and so on. So yes, that's known. Now, have I personally met people like that? No. Can I personally body travel? I can't tell you.
You can't tell us?
No.
Because you'll have to kill us.
Yeah.
No,
I'd have to take over your body. We don't want that.
Are there any other, because I have one final question for you, but are there other questions, thoughts, comment, like things that people, oh my gosh, yeah.
Yes. I live in Calgary. I live just down the highway. Yeah.
He lives closer to you than he lives to us. He lives out by Livermore. Yeah.
Depends on it's a large country. So what happens is the Methodist Church might be present in some regions and not the other. There's a lot of Presbyterians. The Catholic Church, of course, has been around for like long centuries. There's a Syrian Catholic Church, which is the Syrian branch of the church as well. And then I know the Pentecostals are also in India as well. And so there's a lot of charismatic stuff going on. And very entertaining to watch on TV, I have to say that. Yeah. So, Yes.
There's a thing, hopefully some of you will stay during fellowship is there a question from online, Tack?
Yeah, from Paul Sanford, we had a question. Find, as I do, that it is easier to accept a tradition that is very different, but are less tolerant. Teachings are only somewhat different.
Oh, would you say that again?
Ask that question again.
Find, as I do, that it is easier to accept a tradition that is very different, but are less tolerant. Teachings are only somewhat different.
I see what you're saying. I see.
Aye.
Okay. That's a
Good
very interesting
question.
question, Paul. Thank you very much. It is a very interesting question. In the Hindu tradition, generally speaking, because of the philosophical breadth of the tradition, every tradition can be made to be very similar to Hindu tradition. And there have been people that have interpreted the works of Christ in Hindu light, completely acceptable. Basically, that interpretation could, for example, say that Christ can be better understood not from the Hebrew Bible context, but from the Indian context, where what he says I can explain better because I have that. So there are people that have done that and they're acceptable. There are people so similar to Hindu tradition, you already met the Sikh teacher. You might have
Yes.
the Jains. They're not at all. They're picking from the same underlying philosophical language and they're just reassembling it into a different combination. And we have friendly relationships with all of
Yes.
them. And I could understand their spiritual texts just as well as I do mine. It's just a reformulation of the same underlying ideas.
There are a couple things I want to point out to some of you, which I didn't know, and you can explore this later. One is that in your sacred texts, you have Islamic readings. You have certain, if I'm remembering this, which is an interesting thing.
Oh, so I'm going to just nuance that a little. We have
Yes,
Islamic
please.
people, we have Muslim teachers that are revered as sacred saints and sages in the Hindu tradition. They're not necessarily Islamic teachings as such, in the sense
Got it.
that, but if you see Sufi tradition, which is a branch of Islamic tradition, Sufi tradition is very popular in India, even amongst Hindus. I have gone to Sufi shrines with the same reverence as I would go to a Hindu temple. And Hindus generally are very open in that sense. But there are some teachers that were born into Muslim families, were practicing Muslim, living in a Muslim mosque, but are very revered Hindu sages, including one from about 100 years ago. And that's just,
I'll let
it is
you
what.
ask Gaurav questions around certain foods causing us to be more assertive, aggressive, and certain foods that cause us to be more calm, etc. Ask him while you're eating, please, because it was fascinating for me to hear this. But the last question I want to ask you is, even though you grew up in the same way I grew up Christian, we can choose to be something. Why choose to be Hindu? Especially as a teacher, you're very familiar with other religions. And as you would say, being not believing in it at all. Why choose?
Yeah. So why eat Indian food when Chinese food is just as good or Italian food is just
Fair
as good?
enough.
It's one you can enjoy all the other cuisine, but you don't mix and match because then it's American Italian. I am not sure what it is. So the thing is, as long as you understand the cuisine in its own context, and you're like, I'll eat that. I'm not good at making it, but I'll eat it. But this I'm good at eating, at making and eating, because it's what I grew up in. And that's why I'll eat somebody else's cuisine and I'll enjoy it, but I'd rather go to their place and eat it.
Yeah.
So that's just the Hindu thing, that I'm Hindu because I can't be as good a Christian as you, but I can be a very good Hindu for everybody else. So why not?
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Do you want to close us with the closing prayer and then I share in Holy Communion and our offering?
With joy. Now, I'm going to ask you to just sit with your eyes closed one more time. I'll chant Om one time. Just listen into the vibrations. This one, again, is not directed to any name of divinity. This is not necessarily, I think, but what it is, it's a prayer of goodwill. You're sending out good vibes by saying, may everyone be happy. May everyone be free from all diseases. May everyone see goodness and auspiciousness in everything. May none be unhappy or distressed. And then we say peace 3 times. Sit with your eyes closed, sit with your back straight, a little full foot contact on the floor. Eyes are gently closed. The expression on your face is relaxed. So you can bring a gentle smile to your face. Let that smile travel into your heart, and then let your heart and your face both smile. Let your entire body be filled with the same smiling sense, and that radiates out from you. Let me feel your smile. Let this room be filled with your smile, and now radiating out from this community, a smile that envelops this entire planet. I'm going to chant Om now. Exhale completely. Take a deep breath. Inhale. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santo niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gently breathe in and look up with your eyes still closed, and then just gently nod your head down as you exhale. And now rub your palms together to generate some heat, and then gently cup your eyeballs with the palms to transfer that heat. Now, blinking, open your eyes and pull your palms back like an open book. Thank you.
Thank you. What a gift. Thank